Welcome back to Pregame.com's continuing coverage of the Preakness. We're going to move on to a very intriguing horse, Dialed In. He was the morning line favorite in the Kentucky Derby and didn't race well in the Kentucky Derby, but Dave, he didn't have a choice. You can explain to the viewers and listeners what happened to Dialed In the Derby.
Well, yeah, get knocked around, and which tends to happen in that big field. But he said he didn't run well, but actually he did run pretty well. I mean, even though he was out of it, he was still running at a good clip. Nick Zito, the trainer, has come back and said that it's the best 8th place finish by a horse in Derby history. So I don't know if I'd go that far in forgiving his performance, but yeah, he certainly didn't shame himself. And yeah, 19-horse field. We've had many very good horses not run well in derbies.
I kind of said that half-heartedly about the not racing well. As a horse owner, and many times when I was at the track and sitting in my box, and my horse was a favorite, and I happened to have a horse that was a stone-cold closer, and you see them put up an absolutely slow half, I know sitting there my horse has no shot of winning the race. The betting public that doesn't really understand racing and just the average bettor, they don't understand. They see a horse goes in a certain speed, they expect that horse to go that speed all the time. They don't understand that there's fractions and other horses that help set that time up. And you can only make up so much ground. And if they go so slow on the first half, you got to have rockets up your backside to make up the kind of ground needed off a slow fraction. So Dialed In had no shot to win the Derby as soon as they put up the half-mile time. With that said, yes, he did race very well. Made up a lot of ground in absolutely slow fractions. 19-horse field, ton of dead horses in front of him, still strong. And in my opinion, it might have been the best thing that happened to Dialed In because he didn't get overextended. It ended up being almost a training trip.
Right.
Okay, he didn't get any money, but the horse got tightened up. And if there's any race to get tightened up for this guy, he's got something to go for. And for people that don't know, the owners of Pimlico that host the Preakness also own Gulfstream Park. And they had this year a bonus. Anybody that won the Florida Derby and won the Preakness would get a $5.5 million bonus. That's going to be a bigger payday than the horse that actually wins this race today. It's incredible. So Dialed In has a reason to bring his A game, and they're not going to leave anything in the tank. I mean, Dialed In is going to be, pushed to the limit today. And, some people, joke and said, did he use the Derby as a prep race? And, you said that before we went on air. You can go ahead. Zito wants to win a Derby, but really, can you see that this horse coming out of the Preakness, or coming out of the Derby and heading to the Preakness, really is looking pretty good?
Yeah, in fact, I almost put this horse on top in my picks that are in Saturday's Daily Racing Form and on my website. And because we talked about it in the Derby videos, many times I will look at a horse that has lost as a favorite, and the public all gets off of them, and it's usually a quality animal that maybe just had an off day or a bad trip in this case, and certainly excuses can be made. And I certainly think he has a better chance, or I like him better at 9-2 or 5-1 in a 14-horse field as opposed to a 5-1 favorite in the 19-horse Derby. So just from a mathematical standpoint, you're getting better value on him in this race. If you really believe that he is at the top of this class, and there's no reason to think that he's not.
And they're going to get swifter fractions. They can't go any slower than they went in the Derby. If they did, the police are going to pull them over for holding up traffic because that was almost a funeral procession. But there's a lot of people that look and say, well, he's a stone-cold closer, and the Derby's a longer race. The Preakness is a shorter race. Shouldn't that hurt him? That's how the average guys that don't understand pace and fractions will look at it. But really, a closer's a closer. It all, whether it's a longer race, shorter race, the pace sets the tempo. It dictates what's going to happen. And this is going to be a race where there's going to be 3 horses that are going to come out of there, and they're grouped pretty close together in the starting gate. So they're going to be right at each other's throats. And there's a difference between a hotly contested pace or, fast fractions, but one horse is by himself. I think there's going to be a group of horses out there together, and that makes it even better for the horses coming from behind, because the horses that have horses on inside or outside of them throughout a race, whether the fractions are a tick slower or not, the horses are getting more excited, and it's just that competitive adrenaline flow when there's another horse outside of them. I think it's going to set up. The stalkers and closers will be able to come and pounce on this field, and Dowden will be flying late, and it's going to be a much better race for him. And they, like I said, they will not leave anything in the tank, because the rest of his
$5 million is $5 million.
The rest of the season schedule, I don't know that he can make $5 million. Right. So this is the race that they're going to go for, and I think we should get a nice price because of his performance in the Derby. But I think a lot of people will buy into that $5.5 million bonus and be betting him because of it. So I think we're going to lose a little bit of value that we should have, but I think he's a live horse and it's got to be considered. Any closing thoughts?
I put him number 2 in my Derby picks in the forum. Yeah, I do think it does set up for a closer, and Mucho Macho Man's my top choice. But then I think Dowden's going to be right there running with him. There's
no question Mucho Macho Man will have the jump on him when they turn for home. So you will have the head start there. That wraps up our preview of Dowden. We're going to come back. We're going to take a look at a group of horses. We're going to call them the new shooters, Dave. Those are the guys that they weren't in the Derby, but they're coming and they're going to try to make some noise in the Preakness. We'll tell you who to look for.